What's up, EV Clan? Alex Espion here, and welcome back to the next episode of the Pokemon Red Randomizer Nuzlocke. In the last episode, we took on Misty, and in case you missed it, we won. Obviously, y'all could probably already tell that if you play a lot of Pokemon, or if you've seen a lot of Pokemon, you probably already tell that by the fact that we appear to be in Vermilion. Y'all who have played a lot of Pokemon would probably be able to identify Vermilion just by where I was standing right here. Just the view of the water and the three buildings. Personally, if you showed me that screenshot, I probably wouldn't be able to tell what town exactly it was taken in. But, I know that I'm not the most familiar with Pokemon locations, and I'm sure other people are much more familiar with them, but, I've never seen you around. Are you good? Wait, is this a rich girl? I'm trying to see if I can identify the sprites. No, this is a bug catcher. Wait, it's a bug catcher who's actually a bug catcher? Huh. That's interesting. I don't know how it's possible that I haven't noticed that yet. I don't think they changed. They haven't changed like this entire game, so that must mean that the bug catcher has always been just a bug catcher. And that's a wacky little factoid that I've just, I guess, ignored. Because there's no way it just changed. Because if y'all haven't seen other episodes prior to this one, then y'all don't know. But, along with Pokemon, along with the wild Pokemon, the trainer Pokemon, the evolutions, and the trades that other trainers offer us, what is also randomized are the trainer classes. So the fact that the bug catcher is still a bug catcher is wacky. That's how it ended up. But, I mean, I guess there are only so many trainer classes in this game. Obviously, this is only the first Pokemon game, like Red and Blue. This is only Gen 1, so I don't reckon that there are that many. In future generations, like by Generation 4, this would be like a little bit more impressive, I feel. But, oh my gosh, the critical hit. Can we, like, hit the thing? My gosh. Alice needs the XP, guys. Come on. Alice doesn't really need the XP. Gerald needs some XP. This thing doesn't seem to have any, like, actual ground type moves, though. So I'm fine with switching back into Gerald. But Slash! I thought it only had Scratch. Oh my gosh, if it went for Slash at any point, Alice was dead. So I'm lucky that they didn't. Or maybe they did, and I just wasn't paying attention. The animation for Slash and the animation for Scratch are so similar that they could have been going for Slash, and I just wouldn't have noticed. But, what does the trainer have to say? You are too good! I know. Yeah, please, don't. Stop talking, please. Keep going. Keep going. Alice is pretty low, but if we need to switch Gerald out, Andrew can take it. I'm sure take care of whatever is coming up next time. Whatever the trainer has, I'm sure. Excuse me, this is a private conversation. Now this, if I remember my sprites correctly, is a gentlewoman. No, it is... I think the gentlewoman and Ace Trainer sprites are, like, the same. Maybe that's insensitive of me. I'm sorry, I didn't notice the intricate, difference between the two. But I think they just look the same. But... yeah, in a previous episode, I think it was the last episode, I said about how I really didn't like, despite my love for Gen 6, I really didn't like the Bunnelby line. And I will say that there are a lot of things I love about Gen 6, but the Pokemon designs are like very hit or miss. Especially like the Megas, because it's like Venusaur just gets like a bigger flower. Blastoise just gets another cannon. Aerodactyl just gets spiky. You know, like some of the Megas are just like, design-wise, like, maybe lore-wise they're pretty cool. Like you look at the Pokedex entry and it states some pretty cool stuff, but a bunch of the Megas are just like really lame looking. It's like, oh wow, now it's spiky. Oh wow, now Alakazam has a beard. It's like, some of them are, like, a little lame, design-wise. But, like, the concept of Megas overall is just very cool. I just wish that they served more of the purpose that people originally felt they were going to. I hate losing. Well, you better get used to it, because, you didn't have a very good team, I'll be honest. So, there'll probably be many more people, making you lose. Who's there? Quit listening in on us! I should probably get my encounter here before I fight all these trainers, but I think it's too late. I think that might be the last trainer that I haven't fought yet on this route. Because my Pokemon just keep getting higher and higher level, and I don't know what the levels of Pokemon in the grass are. Hopefully they are, like, decently high, because this person's Vulpix is level 20, and that's, like, fairly high compared to things we were just seeing on, like, the previous route before this. So, like, because on the previous route, I believe, like, the Magikarp we ran into was level 10, and in retrospect, going for the Ember with Gerald was not the best idea, because yes, it was not very effective, and I sort of tunnel visioned on the fact that it was not very effective, and I was like, this Ember isn't gonna kill. But then again, it is Stab, and it is 40 power, so really the better option would have been to go to Andrew with the not Stab, normal type Pound with 35 power. That definitely would have been the better option. And hey, maybe the Magikarp would have lived that. Yeah, it probably would have. I just can't win. Yeah, go cry about it. So, yeah, let's get our encounter right now. I don't know if there are any more trainers here, but if there are, yeah, there's a trainer right over there. I skipped him, and I will skip him again for the time being, just so we can get our encounter, and then we will go to the Pokemon Center, I guess, because by the time we get this encounter, our Pokemon are going to be, like, really weak. They are pretty weak already, but as long as I don't run into anything stupid strong, we're fine. We're going to be fine taking it on, because it's not like a trainer where they're going to have, like, really high level in comparison to us. Like, I think it's fair to expect the Pokemon in the grass to be much lower level than the Pokemon that the trainers are hitting at, but hopefully not too much lower level, because then they're going to be hard to weaken. And, oh my gosh, okay, it's level 13. Yeah, I don't know why I led with Gerald after saying Andrew is probably our best bet for weakening things, because of Pound. But, I did, and that was stupid of me. But, as I was saying, just like, Mega Evolutions, man, they're, like, really cool in concept. Especially, like, if you think about what they were meant to do. Because the original thought process behind Megas, obviously, is that, like, they are given to Pokemon who need them. Maybe that's not the thought process that, that Game Freak had, maybe that's not what Game Freak was thinking, but that's what a lot of people thought about them, is that, like, they are given to Pokemon that need them. Like, Mawile, not that strong, so they gave it a Mega Evolution. Sableye, not that strong, gave it a Mega Evolution. In my opinion, but those are ORAS examples, ORAS standing for Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, in case y'all aren't familiar. Those are ORAS examples, so I guess a better example would be found in X and Y, because I'm stating what the original idea of Megas were, and by stating examples of Megas in ORAS, I'm not really stating, like, the original idea, I suppose. So, let me think about X and Y. Were there Pokemon in X and Y that like, were bad before their Megas, that got Megas in order to not be bad? Because if there weren't, then this debunks the entire, like, theory that people propagate, I guess. Is propagate the right word? Propagate implies that it's false, I think. And I don't know if it's false just yet. Let me think about it, because... Oh my gosh, hold on. Someone's just going through my brain right now. I have so many different ideas pulling my brain in so many different directions, and I just need to name this Pokemon so we can continue on while I talk. I don't know if it's supposed to be a boy or a girl at this point, so I'm just gonna name this, Carly. Carly the Ekans. There we go. Nice to have another Pokemon on the team. We're definitely gonna need to train this up a little bit before we can progress, because I don't want this thing to die instantly, and I feel like after yesterday's episode... Yesterday's? I don't know when this is going up. Might be yesterday's episode, might be like the day before that's episode, I don't know. But, after the most recent episode, which was quite exciting, if I do say so myself, I think that I'm sure y'all are fine with a little break from the action, if it means we can get to, Vermilion City with a... Get to Vermilion City, we're in Vermilion City. It means we can get to the, get to the, third gym without losing, like, half our team. Because it's better to grind now and have a bunch of Pokemon ready than to have to than to lose a bunch of stuff on the SSN and then be like unready altogether and just have to train up an entire team. I'd rather train up one Pokemon just to be safe, so that we have 4 team members rather than 3. And I know that like in the SSN, there's a person that literally heals you. So as long as I'm not lazy and don't want to like go and don't have a problem with going back and forth a bunch of times, I'm fine. But I do want to make I do want my content, of course, to be interesting, and I don't want to bore y'all. So I probably will try to do that as little as possible. But just like people would say that Megas were used to help out Pokemon that needed them. Pokemon with low stats or bad typings that needed a little boost in order for them to be usable. And I think that Megas is a great way of doing that, because it's like an addition that you can make to a Pokemon, and it's not just some item that is like, it's not like, oh, it's a held item that you can put on them to make them stronger, but it's not just like, oh yeah, it's like, it boosts some stats, you know. It's not like the like Grisius Orb, I think is the name of the item, that like boosts Giratina's power. It's not just like, it's not just a little thing like that, where it's like, okay, it makes the Pokemon stronger, it's a random held item, you wouldn't even know that it was on there, but like, it's a held item, you attach it to the Pokemon, and then boom, it's stronger. It's like, no, this is a held item that allows you to make transformations to entirely change the way the Pokemon looks and like how it is stat-wise, gives it a new ability, and it's just like, it's a much I feel it's a much better way of doing this sort of held item making Pokemon stronger thing than in past gens. But I'm trying to figure out now if that was actually the purpose of it, or Megas are just to make already existing cool Pokemon cooler. Because really, now that I think about it, there's a lot of X and Y Megas that really, X and Y Pokemon, like Pokemon that got Mega Evolutions in X and Y, that didn't need them. So I'm wondering if that was actually the purpose, or if people just sort of brainwashed themselves into thinking that was the purpose. Because it makes sense. Like, you look at Pokemon like Sableye and Mawile, and it's like, yeah, those Pokemon needed Mega Evolutions. They were pretty garbage before no one was using them. And then all of a sudden they got their Mega Evolutions, and it worked. It made them usable. For the first time, people were actually starting to use them. And Mega Sableye even got, like, pretty darn good and competitive. But was that the express purpose? Is what I'm trying to figure out. Was that just a side effect, I guess, I don't know if that's the best word to describe it. Was that just like were they just trying to make Pokemon cooler? Like Pokemon that they wanted to make cooler? Were they just doing it, making Mega Evolutions in an effort to put some more love to pour love onto Pokemon they liked? Or was this literally their purpose? Were they actually doing this for that reason, to making Mega Evolutions for the purpose of powering up Pokemon who needed it? So I'm trying to figure that out now. Because in Mawile and Sableye's case, it works. Those Pokemon were powered up by Mega Evolutions. But maybe it just happened by chance, you know, that they wanted to give these Pokemon something else, something extra. Maybe that wasn't their express purpose. Maybe they were just seeing Pokemon and saying, we want to make new forms of these. And there wasn't any idea behind it besides that. Maybe they weren't trying to make weak Pokemon more powerful. Maybe they were just making new Mega Evolutions for these Pokemon for the heck of it, because they just like the Pokemon. I'm trying to figure it out. Because you think of like Megas in X and Y. You think of like first of all, the Gen 1 starters, which obviously did not need a power boost. They're already great. Which kind of debunks the theory from the very beginning that they were like used, that these Mega Evolutions were used for the purpose of helping Pokemon that needed it. Because really, the first Megas you receive in the game, Gen 1 starters, which are capable of Mega Evolving, they give you the item and everything, the Mega Ring. From the very first Megas you receive, it is already sort of going against that theory of like, Mega Evolutions are for Pokemon that need the help. Because really, the Gen 1 Final Evolutions of the starters didn't really need help at all. Because they are so broken already. Obviously, they're starters. It kind of debunks the theory that Mega Evolutions are given to the Pokemon that need them just by the fact that, purely by the fact that they are being given to final evolutions of starters. Not just once, but twice. Not just the Gen 1 starters, but the Gen 3 starters as well. It really does seem to indicate that these Mega Evolutions aren't being given to the Pokemon that need them. Rather, they are being given to the Pokemon that Game Freak likes. That the community likes. In some cases. And I don't know how strongly people in the Pokemon community felt about Mawile and Sableye, and I don't know, so it seems a little odd that Mawile and Sableye, if the idea wasn't to power up weak Pokemon, would get Mega Evolutions. But then again, maybe it was just a case of Game Freak being proud of two designs that were undervalued in the community, and they wanted to draw more attention to them. Because I feel that, you know, just because Game Freak created Pokemon and the community didn't like them, wasn't crazy about them, doesn't mean that Game Freak wasn't really crazy about them, you know? Like, I'm sure there are tons of Pokemon where the people of Game Freak, the people who designed the Pokemon, were really happy with the designs, and then they came to fruition, and then people saw them, and they were like, it's alright, I guess. And maybe it's a case of that. Maybe it's like Mawile and Sableye, they were really proud of those designs, and they wanted to draw more attention to them. Maybe it's not simply, oh yeah, they were weak Pokemon, so Game Freak threw them a bone. Maybe it's Game Freak wanted to draw attention to these Pokemon designs that they're proud of. And, I mean, when you look at it through the lens of other Mega Evolutions that exist, Mega Evolutions for Pokemon that definitely did not need a power boost, you start to see that, hey, maybe, I mean, it feels more likely that maybe that is the case. That it's just they were giving them out to designs, Pokemon with designs they're proud of or that they like, rather than Pokemon that actually needed power boosting. Because you look at, like, obviously the Gen 1 starters, the Gen 1 final evolutions, the Gen 1 starter final evolutions, the Gen 3 starter final evolutions, Pidgeot, like, Scizor, Lucario, Mewtwo, even. And it's like, these Pokemon absolutely did not need a power boost. But they are designs but they do have designs that are iconic to the series. They are Pokemon that are well known by the community. And designs that and Pokemon that I'm sure Game Freak would love to give attention to. So while there are some Pokemon that were weak and benefited from the Mega Evolutions being brought about, it's possible that wasn't the main purpose, and people are just, in my opinion, fixated on the moments when it was. It feels to me like people want to believe this idea that Mega Evolutions were given to Pokemon that needed them, when in actuality this wasn't normally the case, and in the cases where this was true, it was just by chance, not because that was the express purpose of Mega Evolutions. Like I said, it's all just a theory, a game. I couldn't think of the word, so it is all just a hypothesis. I don't know. Speculation. Speculation is the word I'm looking for. It is all just speculation, but I definitely think that there are a bunch of examples. There are a bunch of examples of Pokemon that did not need Mega Evolutions, were strong enough as they were already. But I'm having trouble thinking of Pokemon that were that absolutely needed Mega Evolutions and got them. Like Pokemon that absolutely needed a power boost and received it through Mega Evolutions. I'm having bigger problems trying to think of Pokemon like that than Pokemon that well-known, powerful Pokemon that received Mega Evolutions on top of that. And maybe that's just because I don't know my stats. Maybe there are a bunch of Mega Evolutions where it's like they did genuinely need the Mega Evolution. That those Pokemon did genuinely needed it, and it did help power them up when they needed the power boost. When they absolutely needed the power boost. And maybe I'm just wrong. And maybe because I don't know the stats of these Pokemon, I'm not realizing just how many Pokemon were helped by Mega Evolutions that really needed it. Like, I could see, like, I don't consider Camerupt to be, like, a weak Pokemon that needed it, but Camerupt is, maybe Camerupt isn't that good base stat, maybe Camerupt isn't that good stat-wise, maybe I'm just ill-informed. Like, I could think of Pokemon that might need stat help that got Megas, but I don't know if they absolutely were in need of Megas. Like, obviously, I can think of a bunch of Pokemon that were not helped by Megas that absolutely were not up to par with other Pokemon stat-wise. But then again, I mean, there are so many Pokemon that are just, like, weak in comparison to what people, so many Pokemon that are just, like, considered weak, you know? That, like, could possibly qualify for help in such a way that, like, I think that cherry-picking, I think that it's wrong of me to sort of, like, say, on the other hand, it's sort of wrong of me to say, like, oh, they didn't help any Pokemon with these Mega Evolutions. No Pokemon that, look at how many Pokemon needed Mega Evolutions but didn't get them. Look at how many Pokemon that needed that power boost but didn't get it. I don't think that's fair of me because there are just so many Pokemon that I feel need a power boost, need more attention, need that little bit extra in order to go into the spotlight. So I feel like maybe that's unfair of me to be like, well, Delibird didn't get a Mega. It needs power boosting. Because it's like, it's so unfair of me to cherry pick examples when there are so many Pokemon that could possibly use a boost in power. And on the other hand, I should probably just be looking at Pokemon that they did give Mega Evolutions to, that needed it, rather than the Pokemon that needed it but did not get Mega Evolutions. Because then I'm sure I would find, if I knew the stats, that there were a lot of Pokemon that needed a power boost that received it through Mega Evolution. And Beedrill now comes to mind. Now that I think about it, Beedrill definitely is a very weak Pokemon stat-wise, and Bug Poison is a pretty rough typing. So I could definitely see why, by that logic of, like, why he fits into that logic of Pokemon who needed power boosts received Megas. I can definitely see how Beedrill fits into that. But then there are just, like, the glaring examples that make it so hard to, like, say, like, yeah, that's why they got Mega Evolutions, because they needed them. Because Mewtwo certainly did not need a Mega Evolution. Lucario, of all Pokemon, did not need a Mega Evolution. Really glad he got a Mega Evolution, because, you know, my favorite Pokemon. But, like, they didn't need one, so maybe the majority of Mega Evolutions are Pokemon that didn't need it, that they just felt like giving Mega Evolutions to. Maybe the majority of Pokemon are ones that did need it, and are Pokemon that did need it. And there are just these glaring examples because they felt that the community would like. There are just these glaring examples of Pokemon that didn't need it because they just felt that the community would like those Pokemon to have Mega Evolutions. Really, it is possible that they're not even giving these Pokemon Mega Evolutions as a result of, like, I guess, I mean, they have to be doing it in some aspect to sell games, like, to some degree. Like, because people love Charizard. It's not just Game Freak that loves Charizard. A lot of Pokemon fans love Charizard. So, like, by giving Charizard not 1 but 2 Megas, you are just, like, boosting the amount of copies that will be sold. Like, let's be honest. By giving Gardevoir and Gallade Megas, that makes a lot of people happy. A lot of weirdos. A lot of weirdos and odd people. And also just people who are perfectly sane, I guess, happy. It makes a certain audience happy. It made a certain audience happy when Gardevoir got a Mega Evolution. Let's just say that. But, yeah, there's Pokemon like Gardevoir and Gallade that just, like, it made the community happy. They didn't need the Mega Evolution, but they made the community happy. They made the community happy that they got them. And maybe that was the purpose in that case, but maybe with other Pokemon, such as Sableye and Beedrill and Mawile, they gave Pokemon that needed them Mega Evolutions, not because the fans wanted it, but because they felt that the Pokemon needed powering up. Maybe in some cases they felt they did it for the fans, did it to draw more attention to Pokemon that are already getting a lot of attention, hype them up even more, but in other cases, maybe they genuinely did do it to power up Pokemon that needed it. Really, there are enough examples of each to the point where I guess it can be said that they had both things in mind when giving out Mega Evolutions to Pokemon. And obviously there are a lot of Pokemon that I wish got Mega Evolutions, and I wish they continued to do Mega Evolutions in Sun and Moon, and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, because frankly it's really odd that it's really odd in my opinion that Mega Evolutions continue to exist in Gen 7, but there were no new ones. Like, it's like they were just like an afterthought, where like they were in the game from like the Gen 6, they like carried over like the Gen 6 engine a little bit in like the making of the Gen 7 engine, and there were like Megas in there, and they just didn't really have time to remove them. Like, they didn't, that's what it feels like to me, sort of, where it's like, they had this new gimmick, so Megas weren't at all necessary. It was completely unnecessary for Megas to be in the Gen 7. And the fact that there were no new Megas in Gen 7 proves that even further. It's like they literally just, it's like it was in the game, they were gonna like completely remove it and scrap it and be like, okay, on to the next thing. But then they just didn't have time to, or they forgot to, or maybe they just were like, hey, we could sell more copies if this game still had Megas, if this game had Megas too. Whatever the reason, Megas ended up in Gen 7, and it's wacky to me that just like, they did nothing with it. They were just such an afterthought in Gen 7. It's like, yeah, they're in the game, barely. Like, I haven't even seen like a lot of, it's so crazy because it's just like, they don't even tell you about it in Gen 7. It's wacky because I wouldn't even know. I'd seen playthroughs of Gen 7 and not even known that Megas were in the game. And that just makes me feel even more like they weren't supposed to be or something. Like, it just feels like such an afterthought to the point where you almost think that, like, hey, maybe Megas weren't even supposed to be in this game to begin with. Maybe they just threw it in at the last minute to sell more copies or something, or some crap. And I know I go really hard on Game Freak sometimes, like, oh, they did this to sell more copies, or oh, they did this to make the game more popular. But I am just looking at it from like a business perspective, and I really don't hold anything against them, because really don't hold a lot against them, because, you know, Pokemon is a huge company. The Pokemon company's huge, and sometimes they have to make, and a lot of the time they have to make decisions that just are good for the company. And maybe that doesn't please me, but I can see why they did it, and I'm going to, and just know that just because I'm picking a part of business tactic doesn't mean I don't see the need for it. Doesn't mean I'm upset with them for doing things, because in reality, because it is really a bummer that, like, Mega Evolutions were such an afterthought in Gen 7. It feels like they just threw them in for the heck of it. Not wanting to do anything new with them. Like they didn't want to do anything new with them, but they just wanted to keep them in order, just so they could say that there were Megas in the game. It seems like they just wanted to have they just want to have Megas in the game without doing any of the work to, like, just continue to expand on the idea. And I know that sounds harsh, that I'm just putting it like that, but that is how it is. That is how it seems. But frankly, it's really not that big of a deal, because it is a bummer. But at the same time, it's just really good that we continue to have Megas for as long as we did. Looking at all the gimmicks that have come and gone in Pokemon, Megas remaining from the 3DS era all the way into the Switch era with Pokemon Let's Go. It's just, it may seem lazy that they didn't make any new ones after Gen 6, and they just sort of became an afterthought, like, oh, they're in the games if you want them. But, on the other hand, it's cool that they're in the games if you want them, you know? Like, maybe they didn't draw attention to it. Maybe Mega Evolutions just became this background idea that wasn't really very influential in, like, a casual playthrough. Maybe they didn't make any new Megas. Maybe they didn't want to expand on the idea any further. But the fact that they're still there, that they were still present in games following Gen 6, I think shows just that, like, they liked the idea of Megas, and the community liked the idea of Megas, so they decided to keep it. Because while they didn't feel like expanding on it any further, they thought it was wise. They thought that it was good. They thought that the community would like it if Megas were kept, and it works out for them too, because if they keep Megas in the games, it allows them to sell more copies because people want Megas. It is a good business tactic, and it is pleasing people. Yes, it would have been cool if more Megas were introduced past Gen 6, but just the fact that Megas continue to exist past Gen 6, regardless of whether new ones were added or not, shows that, like, is not only a good business tactic, but is also just pleases a lot of fans, I feel. And it made Mega Evolutions all that much more memorable that they stuck around for a little bit. That being said, to wrap up my whole tangent, I'll just go back to what this conversation started with, which is Gen 6 designs are pretty hit or miss, and Bumblebee just looks dirty to me. He looks like a dirty animal, and I don't like it. And Diggersby looks way too smug. He looks like he's hiding a secret from me that he really doesn't want me to know. And yeah, pretty much I just really don't like the Bumblebee line. That being said, I'm going to wrap up this episode here. Thank you all so much for watching, Eevee Clan, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. This is Alex Espion, signing off. I'm going to go take a shower.